Good evening, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Shelly Speaks Truth right here on TwoRawForTV.tv. If you are here for the first time, welcome, and if you are returning, welcome back. Now, before we get into the show, I do want to let everyone know who is not already aware. What we do around here is we do stream from a few other platforms outside of Two Raw for TV, which is usually Instagram, X, YouTube. I'm not sure about TikTok, but the other social media platforms, we stream from those platforms, but that is only for a portion of the show. If you would like to see the entirety of the show, you will have to come on over and join us exclusively on TwoRawForTV.tv, and that is the number 2, Raw, the number 4, TV.tv. Again, that is the number 2, Raw, the number 4, TV.tv. And with that being said, once again, welcome to everyone, and thank you very much for tuning in to tonight's show.
Yeah, real quick, before, I don't want to interrupt you, but real quick, before you even get too far going, we always do say shout-outs, tell the people to come over to Two Raw TV, right? But shout-outs to all the people that start out watching us from TwoRawForTV.tv, right? Shout-outs to you.
Right. You can always just jump on Two Raw for TV right away. You don't have to wait. But with that being said, once again, welcome. And before I get into tonight's, main discussion, for those of you who may not know, because this is something that was talked about, but I don't see a lot of people talking about it. Usually when these sorts of things happen, you see it up and down your timeline, but this is not something that I've been seeing a lot of people posting or talking about. But Diddy, he was sentenced to 50 months in federal prison. And from what I'm seeing here, he was convicted of 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. I'm going to say maybe I'm ignorant to this, but I didn't know people got that long of sentencing for engaging in prostitution. That's a pretty long sentence. 50 months, what is that, like 4 years? So yeah, they're making him sit for a minute. 50 months, he'll be on probation for 5 years after that. And they're also saying that he'll have to go to mental health counseling and domestic violence classes and things like that. Now, I'm personally not here to give Diddy a pass. I feel like Diddy did some really messed up things to quite a few people. So by no means do I feel like Diddy is innocent whatsoever. But like I said, that sentence seems rather long for what they convicted him of. And like I said, maybe I might be ignorant to this, but 4 years for transporting to engage in prostitution just seems like a really long ass sentence. Maybe I'm tripping, but it just seems excessively long to me. And, like I said, I'm not giving Diddy a pass because I know some people that have a knee-jerk reaction. They're like, well, he did this to people and that to people, which is all true. There's plenty of accounts of people coming out, even, people that were on his label and things like that did attest to the fact that he's just not a good person. But I feel like he was on trial, and I feel like his sentencing and the way he was judged and all of that was based on him not being a good person, more so than what the crimes he was convicted of. So, there's a lot of people who aren't good people. And if people are going to be, judged off not being good people, the jails would be full of people, okay, if we're going to be honest. But, there comes a time that everybody must face their karma, and unfortunately for him, he'll be, going to the feds with that 50-month prison term, and they said he'll get credit for the 12 months that he's already been there. So I guess that 4 years will get bounced down to 3. And a lot of people are saying that, this is it for Diddy. This is the end for him. His career is pretty much over at this point because, I guess anybody who wants to work with him or thinking about working with him, there is, I guess for lack of a better term, there's dirt on his name. So it's kind of like people are going to not want to be affiliated with him. And it's an unfortunate situation because, Diddy, if we're going to be honest, Diddy did work really, really hard to get in the position that he's in. I've watched a couple of documentaries on Diddy, and Diddy really did move, get it out the mud. He came up from the bottom. So it's just very sad to see someone who put all that effort into building themselves up to see it just get wiped away like that. And unfortunately, it was by his own doing. So, it is what it is. So bad.
Let me charge your microphone.
All right. What, am I too low?
No, I just needed to trade it.
Yeah, so that's a Diddy update for those of you who might not have known. He has been sentenced to 50 months in prison, 5 years probation. And like I said, those domestic violence courses and mental health courses, which, sometimes when people, they fall hard like this, it's for a reason. And hopefully he will learn from all of this and really, do his best to come out and become a better person. That's the only thing that we can hope for with that. But with that being said, I do have a bit of sad news as well. This week, I believe it was like a day or so ago, unfortunately, in my opinion, musical genius and someone who was just so pivotal in the soul and neo-soul era of music, D'Angelo, unfortunately, has passed away. And it came as a surprise to a lot of people because he kept his cancer diagnosis very, very secret. No one, a lot of people were like, wow, we didn't know he had cancer. So, unfortunately...
To me, that's kind of crazy. I'm sure nobody that... we've heard nobody that knows D'Angelo personally say that, right? I'm sure we haven't heard anything.
When people are going through sicknesses, they will disclose that with their fans and things like that.
Yeah.
It's that really private. And so his fans are like, wow, we didn't know.
Yeah, I mean, no.
But
I don't...
I mean, obviously, if no one knew he was sick, it would come as a surprise if they see, news stories and things like, D'Angelo has passed and things like that.
I heard a story about a woman that her husband passed very suddenly and abruptly. Mm-hmm. And, right before he was like terminally, when he got terminally ill and was admitted to the hospital, that's when the doctor was fussing him out, like, because that's when the wife found out. And if the wife would have knew.
The wife didn't know he was sick?
No, he didn't let his wife know.
Okay, that's ridiculous.
Right, so that's why when I chuckled when I heard that. I'm like, okay, these people are like so far removed from anything. You know what I mean?
But it's still a thing where he's famous. He has a fan base.
Yeah.
So, like I said, sometimes entertainers will disclose if they have a health issue. They will disclose that to their fans.
Right.
That's something I guess that he wanted to keep just among him and his family. So that it did come as a surprise to a lot of people because they were like, wow, we didn't know that he was suffering with that illness because that's something that he did keep very private. And it's unfortunate. I was a big fan of D'Angelo. I love his music. And it's just sad, that we've lost him. And, thoughts and prayers to his family. And a lot of people were pointing out the fact that him and Angie Stone, they have a son together. And, she passed, I think, about 6-7 months ago. So that's very unfortunate for their son that, unfortunately, he has lost his mother and his father so close together like that. That's really sad. All right, so me and my producer are about to have it out in a second here. because he has.
Well, we're 10 minutes in on social media. We want to shut them off in 5 minutes.
Okay, they'll be fine. They can come over to 2raw4tv.tv. The number 2, raw, the number 4, tv.tv. Y'all come on over. Now, I want to go ahead and get into the main topic of tonight, this purple revolution, because I became privy to this. It was being talked about on YouTube and things like that. And one of my favorite YouTubers, the Church of Black Power, he did a whole live on this or whatever. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of interesting to me, so I'm going to go and look into it. And the purple revolution was brought about by, I guess, disgruntled MAGA followers or members. I don't really know what you call them. But I don't want to go too far off into it. I want to get into the video because there is a guy who is an influencer, I guess you can call him that. And he got on social media and he, I guess, put out a rally call to people to join the Purple Revolution. So if we can get that video queued on up, we'll get into, you know, what this is and why MAGA all of a sudden is calling for people to join them and things like that. Which a lot of people are saying they're pretty skeptical of this whole thing. So, you know, we're going to go ahead and run that clip here in a second because I did find it kind of, I don't want to say surprising, but it was just kind of odd to me that these people who are like die-hard MAGA supporters, because if you know anything about the MAGA movement, they were all in. Like, all sorts of things were happening, and it just seemed like their support for MAGA was unwavering. And no matter what MAGA did or MAGA said, they found a way to excuse it and make excuses. And so to see this happening in this moment it's really kind of telling of the times that we're in, where it just seems like people are wanting something different than the status quo. They really want something different. So we're going to go ahead and roll that video, and you guys listen in to this.
Need you to know something. Do not scroll. If you're a leftist, if you're a conservative, it doesn't fucking matter. My name is Hunter Howell, and I would never do anything to harm myself. I just need to tell you the truth. In case something bad happens to me, I'm a person on the right side, the Republican side, so to speak. But you could consider me based because the United States is occupied by Israel politically. Now, obviously, Gaza and Palestine are occupied physically, and it's a lot worse for the people over there. But that will come to us too. Mark my words, this app has already been bought by Larry Ellison. They just bought CBS as well. And we don't have a lot of time to unite, which is why you need to get this video out and start loving your neighbors, start coming together, red and blue, purple revolution, right? Because pretty soon there won't be many people on this app like me that are able to criticize Israel, okay? We're next. And if we don't make a stand now, together, united, strong, in numbers, then we're cooked. But I believe that we can fight back and win. Let me know your thoughts. Send them love.
All right. So as you guys can see in that video, he is calling for the left side and the right side to come together and join forces. He did make some accusations against Israel, basically saying that the United States government has been occupied by Israel, and Israel basically runs the United States government, which is not a new, which is not something that people have just started saying. I will say we've been hearing that for a very long time. The Israel lobby is very, very strong in D.C., and what Israel wants, Israel gets. You hear these podcasters and people calling into different shows all the time, talking about how Israel is a very big problem. And like he said in the beginning of the video, basically he's not suicidal. He doesn't have any plans to hurt himself. I guess he has to put that disclaimer out there before making those accusations against Israel, because the thing with Israel is that a lot of the I guess powerful people of that lineage, what they do, and this is why I personally don't really make any distinctions between the Anglo-Saxons and the Israelis or the Jews or whatever you want to call them, is because they all go by the same white supremacist playbook. With the Jews, what you will see a lot of the times, and you also see this with the white supremacists, one of the things, one of the premises of white supremacy is to deny its existence. So that keeps people in circular arguments and questioning themselves, and it just keeps people arguing back and forth about it, so they'll never actually deal with it. So with the Jews, what they like to do when people accuse them of things like occupying the United States government and having lobbies that are like gangs in many ways, they deny it. And that is something that white supremacists do. That's why I don't really make a distinction.
With that being said, with all this white supremacy talk and, all this skin color talk and all, you're not getting it far on these social media platforms anyway. So what we're going to do is we're going to start to shut them down one by one. Again, come over to TrueAlphaTV.tv if you want to go ahead and download the app. We are available right now for all Apple devices. Still in the testing phase for Android, but that's coming at you very soon. And
before we in the app, the app, before we end streaming on the other platforms, if you're coming over to TrueAlphaTV.tv, you can call in. The phone lines are open if you want to call in at any time. That number is 470-666-2194. Again, that number is 470-666-2194, and that's how you can join the live conversation.
All right. You can continue with your thing. I'll be shutting them down one by one. I can't do them all at once.
Okay, so like I was saying, that's why I don't make any distinctions between the Jews and the Anglos, because for one, all of them get on code against black people. So but you have the Anglos who do like to call into these shows and say, "Oh, why aren't we standing together to go after the Jews?" And it's like, well, you call into these spaces where there's black people congregating with each other, and you want to talk about how the Jews are doing this and doing that. And I'm not saying that that's untrue. I do feel like, I guess the Jews, if you want to say that, I feel like they have a lot of power in the United States. And what they have been successfully